All right, hello juniors. Thank you so much for coming and joining us during this X block. I'm Mr. Johnson. I'm one of the counselors here. Actually, we have a huge team of counselors right here right now. So we are all here to support you and help you out with the college process. Today, we're going to be talking about just five things, 5 tips for you to get ahead in the college process. And these are 5 actionable things that you can learn about, you can do right now. We'll have more things for you to do a little bit down the road. So, what are the 5 things to get ahead? I think that the first thing to do is to start talking about college. And you're here right now. Congratulations, you're doing it. I think that one of the most important things that you can do is loop your parents into the college conversation. You know, your family is a big part of your life. You probably are going to want to talk to them about big decisions. And going to college is a big decision. So not only is it about, where you're going, what you want out of college, but college is also an expensive decision. So having real conversations about paying for college could be really good. Also, you're responsible for paying for college too. So it would seem weird to not have that conversation with your parents, right? Especially if you're taking out loans in your name that you'll have to pay off later. Sometimes your parents will be like, oh, don't worry, it'll be fine. Just have realistic conversations so that you know what's going on, so that they know what's going on, and so that you're preparing for the rest of your life. It's part of growing up, and sometimes it's a conversation that parents don't want to have, so have it. It's going to help you grow. One thing that's important is attending schools far away does not mean that you love your parents any less. So some of your parents might want to kind of hang on to you a little bit because they love you. But it's okay. You can go to the place where you want to go, and you can have those real conversations with your parents. And one thing that's really important is to just kind of keep talking to them. Keep your parents in the loop. Your parents are going to be super stressed out about this process because it's stressful to them. It's important, right? It's a big decision. And they can't really do a lot of stuff. And they shouldn't. They shouldn't be all up in your business and applying to schools for you and composing your list and stuff like that. So they have to take a step back and trust you. But some of you are not very trustworthy. So what you need to do is include them in the conversation. Let them know, hey, I got the 5 tips about college today from Mr. Johnson, and I learned about this. Hey, I just researched this school. It looks really cool. I talked to my counselor today. My cousin is going to go to this school. I think that that's really cool. And as you fill them in a little bit at a time about the process, it'll kind of take some of their anxiety away and also let you open lines of communication with your parents. Also, what it does is sometimes parents, they'll start nagging you about college. They'll be like, well, have you done this? Have you done that? Have you done that? And that can be exhausting. So if you're the one talking to them about college, then they're not the ones that have to nag you about it. Sometimes we suggest to parents that they pick a time to ask you about it, like every Sunday at brunch or every Thursday night. They say, so this is the day, let's talk about college for 5 or 10 minutes. Okay? That's something that you guys can initiate too. So you should talk to your parents about college, but you should also talk to your counselor about college because we know a lot of stuff. One thing that you should do is bring questions to your meetings. It is totally normal for students to come into meetings with me and pull out their phone and say, all right, I got 6 questions. 2 of them are from my mom and 4 of them are from me, and then just get through them. Because the college process is very individual. Okay, it's individual to you, and so you might have very specific questions about your specific circumstances. And sometimes your counselor can't predict that. So come with those questions. We want to answer them. One thing that's important, though, is that you don't have to know everything yet. In fact, you don't have to know everything about college at all. It's a very complicated and intricate subject. So don't feel like you have to have everything handled because you have a resource. You have your counselor that is totally willing and loves to hear questions from you. So you don't need to study like you'd study for something else or do intense research on every part of the process when the answer is just an email away. So you can rely on us. One thing that's important is that the reasons behind decisions are sometimes way more important than the decisions themselves. Let me explain. Students come in and say, I want to go to USC. And I'm like, that's fantastic. Of course, yeah. Why do you want to go to UC? It's a great school. Yes, it is a great school. That's not a real reason. And sometimes you need to break down what's the logic behind your reason. You know what I mean? And sometimes you don't have that. So as you're looking for schools and as you're going through the college process, finding out why and being able to communicate that is really good. You know? If you say like, oh, I hate UCLA, oh, that's great. That's actually another data point that'll help us figure out what you want. Well, why do you hate it? You know? And if you can pinpoint those details, that'll help us get there. That's the kind of feedback that your counselor can use to send you down the right path to getting more things done. Another thing you could do is start talking about what's important to you. You know, I talked about that a little bit in the last one, about the reasons behind it, the motivations. But getting personal can be really important. Knowing what you care about and what you value, that's important. Not only does it help us get to know you better, write more beautiful letters about you, brag about you to colleges, all that other good stuff. We want to see you succeed, and we want to find the right fit for you. And sometimes getting to know you personally can help us get there. So talk to your counselors. You should also probably talk to some admissions representatives. I know that can be pretty intimidating because they're, in many cases, the people literally making decisions on if you're allowed to go to their school or not, but they're great people. And their job is to get you excited about their school. And they've got a wealth of information. And we have so many of them coming to Chaminade. We literally hundreds come through our doors every year as they talk about their school and meet you guys one-on-one. So take advantage of that. You can even reach out to specific schools and specific representatives if you have specific questions. If you're unsure about how to do that, or if your question's a good question, talk to your counselor about that. We can give you feedback. Probably shouldn't email your representative and ask them if they have a biology major, because just look it up online, you're educated people. But if you have specific questions, specific to you, it could be really great to make that connection. One thing to note, admissions representatives, they are trying to sell their school to you. That's one of the themes of this, is that as you're doing research, as you're figuring things out, knowing that you're kind of being advertised to, they're trying to sell you. You know, so admissions representatives won't tell you, like, don't apply to my school. They're going to tell you to apply to their school. They're trying to sell their school. They're always going to spin things in favor of their school. We were doing a tour of Berkeley years and years ago, and we had an amazing student chaperone through the tour. And we had a very astute Chaminade student say, hey, is it a problem that like all your classes are taught by TAs and you can't really connect with your professor? And the student representative had the most amazing response. She was like, oh, our professors, they're aloof, they're sometimes too intelligent, they don't have space to give us time, and so the TAs, they make that one-on-one connection. They're able to connect to us on a more intimate level, and she sold it. She turned what some people thought as a negative into a positive. Now, it's a great thing, you know? You get more perspective, but also don't let the sales pitch, you know, get in the way of what you really think about your evaluation. Does that make sense? Good. Talking to everyone else. It can be really great to bounce ideas off of each other, off of your friends, off of other people in your life, because there are thousands of schools. You could start researching schools right now, 10 schools a day, all the way up until their deadline senior year, and you couldn't research them. You'd have thousands left to research. You cannot research all of the schools. So that's all the more reason to get advice from your counselors, talk to reps, you know, talk to other people, and get more ideas. You know, recommendations can be helpful, especially from people that you trust, people doing similar research to you. But remember, this is your college process. If you just take your friend's list and make it your college list, yeah, that's a recipe for disaster. Okay? And remember, you know, your sister, your cousin, you know, they're not going to have the same things that you want. They're not the same person. So remember that as they tell you about this amazing school that you need to look at. Now, be critical when you're looking at colleges. Not everyone gives good advice. I think you know, except for your counselors. We all give top-tier advice. But remember that. Trust yourselves because you're smart. Okay? All right, so talk about college, right? It's good. Good starting advice to talk about it. The next piece of advice, the next tip that you can use right now is avoid the hype. So, college is not a requirement for success. I'll say it one more time. College is not a requirement for success. Now, you're in Chaminade right now, and there's a Chaminade bubble, and we have an intense college environment here. And do you know what? We love that. We love that you guys are motivated and academic, and the vast majority of you care intensely about college. We really like that. But simultaneously, you have to know that there's nothing wrong with community college, a job, a gap year, military service, so many other options. College isn't required. But it is important for you to look at what you want and know how to get there. Because college is a requirement if you have a passion to be a lawyer or a doctor, So don't get caught up in what everyone expects. Be honest with yourself and figure out where you want to go. You should beware of social media because social media is filled with hype. I don't know if you know this, but online posts don't always represent reality. I know. Instagram can lie to you. But actually, it makes a lot of sense because as you're scrolling through TikTok, the algorithm can keep giving you these bad college advice over and over again, and it can feed into your insecurities. It can feed into your expectations. And everyone, likes to talk about college, and they like to brag about college, and college becomes this inflated thing that can really prey on your insecurities and prey on your mental health. So beware of social media. College is not a competition. You're not in direct competition with other people for where you get into school, even though it feels like that, right? It feels like you're being judged for what schools you get into, and some schools are better than... It is your path, and colleges are... I know that there are college rankings, but colleges are apples and oranges to each other. They're so different. Okay? College is not a competition, but one thing that's important is that it is an accomplishment. There's nothing wrong if you're excited about the college you get into, but there's something wrong if you buy into the hype and the prestige of the colleges. Does that make sense? Okay. Beware your own social media presence. You guys do some stupid things sometimes. And not only do you do some stupid things, sometimes you put them on the internet and attach your name to it. You document it. So just be aware of that. That's something to just be aware of in general, throughout life, before jobs, before college, all that stuff. Because social media can be trouble. One other thing about the hype is that some people will prey on that, because fear sells. When you feel insecure about something, when something's confusing, people will use that to make money. And there are companies that will use your inexperience, that will use your fear to sell you something. Now, I'm not saying that every company is evil and preying on you and saying, give us all your money and we'll help you navigate the college process. Okay? But there are some that have those hard sales tactics. And I want you to know that you have resources here at Chaminade. Your counselors are here to help you and be honest with you. Okay? Rely on real information and ask a lot of questions if you're dealing with college situations like this. Okay? Your counselors are here. We're going to give you good feedback, and sometimes people will use the hype to get you to think and do things that you wouldn't normally do. Be aware of it. Now, here's something a little bit more actionable. Start your college list. Third thing that you can do. Maybe the most important thing that you can do right now. So, a college list, well, it's a process. It's something that happens slowly as you do research. If you try to put your college list together in an afternoon, if you try to put your college list together right before you apply, you're not really doing it right. okay? And you're not going to get as good of a list as you want because you don't have that process of thinking about why you like something, researching something else, getting feedback from other people, having all those conversations that take time that I talked about as my first tip. So start now. Get organized. Do research. Figure things out. We'll talk about some ways to research colleges a little bit later. One thing that's important is that the right college list can reduce your stress. We know that college and this whole process is super stressful, but the right list can help you out with that. You should be expected to be denied from some of your reach schools. I think a lot of people carry their anxiety from like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get denied. Yeah, you should get denied if you build the right list. If you have reach schools that you're truly reaching for, some of them probably should deny you. And that's good. It means you're reaching for those schools, right? It means you're challenging yourself. Okay, so that's not a surprise that you have to fear. It's just it's a part of the process. Another thing that happens is that sometimes we have these expectations. Students come to me and they say, I need to go to Stanford. I will only be happy at Stanford. Do you know what? That is stressful because Stanford's probably going to deny you. You can be a perfect candidate and Stanford denies you. And the only place you're going to be happy is at Stanford? That is incredibly anxiety. Like, I'm anxious right now just thinking about that. But here's the thing. That's not true. You will be happy at lots of different schools, okay? And having the right list can help you realize that. When you have a safety school on your list, maybe a couple, and you look at them and you're like, not my favorite school on my list, but I will be happy and successful there, and I'm kind of excited to look at that. A lot of your anxiety just leaves because now you know you have a safety net. Yeah, you still probably are really excited about Stanford, and I hope you get in, but when you have that safety net, man, things feel a lot better, especially if you have safety schools that you'll be happy at, that you know you want to go to. So make sure you don't put safety schools on there just to appease your counselor, okay? That's the hard part too, because safety schools are they're not actually really good academic fits for you. You know, you're better than the average student there by definition at a safety school, so it's not a great academic fit. But hopefully, it fits you in so many other ways that you're excited. Oh, it's in this great location. They have this great program, this internship, this professor. All of that stuff makes you excited about that school. Okay. Sometimes a college list that's too large, you know, a lot of students, they're just like, oh, I can apply to that? Wait, there's no application fee? The Common App, I already filled it out. Click, 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 click. Okay, sometimes those lists that are just ballooning out of control, what you're doing is you're pushing the decision-making process. You're pushing that research. You're pushing that critical role of finding things that fit you off until later. It's really easy to procrastinate those hard decisions. But that's stressful too. So I would say make sure that your list has schools that you want to attend and that you're happy with. And that way you're making the decision as you build your list and not pushing off that decision-making until later. It's a hard thing to do. You should also try to alleviate some of the pressure that comes with paying for college. Now, finances should not dictate your entire college plan, but thinking about it is just prudent, right? You want to have those conversations about finances with your parents. You might want to have a financial safety school. Being able to know that if the financial aid packages somehow don't work out, that you're still guaranteed to go to college, that things will still be okay, that takes a lot of stress away too. So again, starting to build your college list, and making sure that you hit all of these important points, it takes so much of that stress away. Use Naviance. If you use Naviance, you can stay organized, and your counselors can see what you do on Naviance. That way, you know, when you come into those meetings, we can see your stuff, and we can be able to give you feedback based on it. Because staying organized also helps reduce that stress. All right, another thing you can do is create a testing plan. High-stakes testing, well, it's changing up a little bit. You have to ask yourself the question, do you even need to take a test like the ACT or the SAT? Before, that wasn't even a thing. It's just like, given. You are all taking it, you know, deal with it. Now, it's actually more of a personal choice. It's something that you might want to talk about with your counselor. You know, and that's even more important about why your college list might be important, because some schools might require the SAT or ACT, while other schools are test blind or test optional, and it really is an option. So the more you know about your college list, the better you're prepared to know if you need to take the SAT or ACT. But like anything, this is about data. Gathering data like your other academic points. Your other academic data point is your GPA. So knowing your GPA lets you know if testing is important for you. If your GPA is up here and your test scores are down here, well, you're going to have to work really hard to make sure to show them another positive data point for your academics. If your GPA is down here and your testing's up here, then you should probably take the test. That's a very abbreviated conversation about it, and you should have individual conversations with your counselors. And also gather that data. PSAT scores. You've looked them up. You know them. You've read everything on the College Board about them. Or take a diagnostic. Knowing where you are can help you make decisions about what you have to do. So, if you are taking the SAT or ACT, you should probably start right around now. Look at the test dates. Spring of your junior year is a great time to take it because you can start taking your data point and you have plenty of time to follow up with subsequent tests your senior year. Study. You need to study for it. Other people are studying for it. It is a test that you can study for. And so if you're going to put in the effort of taking the test, put in the effort of getting a good score on it. Study and do the best that you can. Doing something halfway doesn't really pay off your efforts. So make a plan, follow it, be consistent. Practice tests. You should take practice tests and you should score them so that you know how you're doing. You know if you're improving. You know what you have to work on. You know how that data point measures up to the colleges that you're interested in and your GPA. And then finally, it's important to be realistic. Don't trick yourself into crazy goals. A lot of students see 100 or 200 point increases. But if you're expecting to, increase your score by 300 or 400 points, that's a lot. Also, if you're trying to improve your score from 1,500 to 1,600, those last 100 points, that's also a lot, So having that data and being realistic lets you know how you have to plan, and could help you out with your college list too. We have resources for this. We have Shmoop. It's free. The library pays for it. You can log in and get test prep. Khan Academy is awesome. It's free. They have videos on YouTube. They have videos on the website. It's great. In fact, they have a really great SAT daily practice. You can literally pull up your phone and do an SAT question every single day. When you're waiting in line for something, when you're on the bus, whatever. That kind of consistency helps a lot when it comes to growth. Also, it's really cool when you do practice tests to be able to take a picture and have it score it. That's really cool. I like that. Okay. The next thing, number 4, experience campuses. This used to say visit campuses, but I had to change it. Because now there are challenges when it comes to visiting campuses. Traditional visits have changed. Sometimes when you go on campus, they don't take you into buildings anymore. I think that you might want to see the inside of a classroom or the cafeteria or a dorm room or something like that, but sometimes even if you can get on campus and can get a tour, things have changed. Sometimes tours are limited. The landscape has changed, but these limitations have actually opened up more opportunities for you to see colleges. Before it was like, oh, do you have time and energy and money to visit these places? No, okay, but now there are so many more options when it comes to figuring out what it is. This is Brandeis. I clicked on it because it was one of the top things on one of these other things. So if you go over here and you click on visit, you can see that, yes, there's traditional campus visits. You can go on campus, you can figure stuff out, and even do a driving tour around there and stuff like that. Do a group visit. Great, normal stuff. But that's not the only thing that they have. If you go back over here to visits, they also have visit campus virtually. I guarantee you're not surprised by that. But do you know that they have a student-led virtual tour? You can sign up for a virtual tour and have a student sort of talk you through it. It's kind of interesting. Do you know that you can connect with students that are there? You can literally go and say, oh, I can talk to one of these students, and get that personal connection with them? Yeah. So this, a lot of these things weren't around before. This is UVisit. And this is a place where colleges can upload and create these virtual college visits. So in many cases, you have like 360 cameras and cool things to skip to. I always like looking at the campus center because that's actually where you'll like do stuff. I also like looking at the dining hall because, oh cool, Sessa. I don't know why they have the sound of a dining hall for you guys to experience, but that's part of the video too. Because like you need to know what trays and everything sounds like for sure. That's okay. You need organ music in your life, right? Like you need to know that they have an organ, and you need to know that they have all this other stuff too. Okay. But basically, the whole point of this is that there are a lot of different options. It's going to start playing cello now. But do you see what I mean? They have embedded YouTube videos about like cellists in their tours. They have connections for individual students that you can find out, like look up from their hometown and chat with them. They have a castle. I'm not selling Brandeis to you guys. Come on, it's not for everyone. But they have a castle, you know? And they have all of these important things that you can look at and experience. It's almost like you're there. You have the connection with admissions officers. You have the connection with students. You know, you have some of the visuals. You can experience things in different ways. I know it's not like being on campus. It isn't. Being on campus has an energy and something a little bit extra to it, but can help. Okay. This is Brandeis again. They have a YouTube channel. Of course they do. They all have YouTube channels. So you can do the official tour on YouTube. But every single major school will have someone that wants to be famous giving you a day in the life. Now, I don't think that they're going to give you exactly the same college tour, but they could give you a view of it. Do you know what I mean? Again, go in knowing what you're looking at. When you're looking at something the school puts out, that's advertising. You know, when you go to see Lauren London's view of Brandeis, you know, you're going to see like her specific life and her specific scenario. Okay, but all of this stuff starts building a picture of a school that I think that maybe you guys might not have thought that you could experience. We just sent out the link to this. This is an Amazon Prime series called The College Tour. And they got a bunch of episodes and they go deep dives on colleges, and it really has you feeling like you're there. So the whole thing I'm getting at is that there are options for you to experience schools and not just look at pictures, not just look at graphs, you know? Okay. One thing I think is important is visiting and experience safety schools. When you go to Stanford, which is your dream school apparently, you're gonna feel like it's awesome. And it is awesome, you know? Going to your dream schools feels great, you know? But you should also go to your safety schools. Because again, sometimes your safety school doesn't match you perfectly. It doesn't match you academically. So making sure it matches how you feel and how you want to live your next 4 years is super important. So even though you might not be excited about, you know, touring that Cal State that's your safety school, like getting on campus and saying, yeah, this place is cool, that could be important. Okay. We got some upcoming events coming on. I'm going to be up here on April 27th talking to you about the college application essay. It's going to be a crash course in exactly what to write, and we're going to give you the full introduction into how to write that, because it's not a traditional essay. College boot camp. We have 2 sessions, August 6th through 8th and August 13th through 15th. It costs $225, and you can sign up through the Center for Excellence. And this is us holding your hand through the entire application process. You know, we'll also be there doing essay intensive, giving you feedback on your essay, getting it to the point where you can finish it on your own. We'll be there with your computer, literally filling out every single box and telling you exactly what to put in, how to write those activities, how to fill out those applications. Do we have a 4-point GPA, a 5-point GPA, a 7-point GPA? We have the answers for you, and we'll tell you right there so that you start senior year feeling confident about the college process. Those are my 5 tips.